I want to thank everybody for being here today. My name is Derek Diora. I am the Executive Director of WCEDA, Walworth County Economic Development Alliance. And this is part of we call this our Three Drivers series. It's a business education series that we try to do at least one, but as many as 3 a year. And in most cases, we will partner with our chamber partners throughout the county who are listed in the program. Great partners. Also includes visit Walworth County, or Walworth County Visitors Bureau, I should say. Great group. We meet once a month, try to help promote each other's activities, do joint networking events and things like that. So really appreciate their help and partnership with this event. Want to let you know that we are videotaping this too, because in a lot of cases, sometimes people aren't able to be here, or they want to review some of the information or forward it to other people. We do get a lot of views after the fact on that and visibility. I think really the primary reason for this, we haven't done something like this I think since 2016. We've been having people ask about different resource partners and things like that. We thought it'd be really good just to get some names and faces together, but then also talk about some key things that each of our speakers will talk about in terms of some of the challenges or opportunities that they're doing. So our first panel here will be talking more closely or more focused on lending. Then we'll have what we're calling a spotlight, workforce spotlight. 2 people speaking there. One will be talking about how they work with youth in the high schools. The other will be talking about some of the continuing education programs that can be helpful to the workforce. And then we'll have the second panel that will be more business consultant related. And from that, we will pick some topics for our roundtable. And when we get to that point, I'll talk about that, but that's why these tables are numbered. So it didn't matter where you sat right now, that's fine. But when we get to the end there, round tables, we'll talk about how that's going to work. So I'm going to just jump right in, and again, really appreciate everyone for being here and also our speakers. And so on our first panel here, to the far left, we have Heather Lux. She's with WWBIC, Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative Corporation, and she'll talk more about that. Then we have Shane Griffin from Associated Bank out of Elkhorn there, but I know it covers the area. And then WBD is a lending institution that works statewide, and we have Zac Schneider, so thanks for being here, Zac. And then last but not least, we have Wesley Walsh, from Business Lending Partners, and we statewide as well, but focus a lot in the region with lending. So, and then I'll be on that panel as well. So why don't we get started? I'm going to ask each of our panelists just to talk a little bit about their agency and some of the services and things that they offer, and then I'll talk about our loan program as well. So, Heather, do you want to kick things off?
I didn't know by sitting in the end that you'd be going first, but I will do my best.
You're good.
So as Derek said, my name is Heather Lux, and I am the statewide director of training at WWBIC. I also serve as the regional director in the Southeast region, which really covers Walworth County, Rock County, Racine County, and Kenosha County. So WWBIC is a statewide organization, been around since 1987. We are a CDFI, and was the first CDFI nonprofit in the state of Wisconsin, so we take that designation very seriously. Just to give you a snapshot of WWBIC, we have 6 regional offices throughout the state, so really trying to reach deeply into all 72 counties. We have multiple resources, so just to give you an overview of that, we have our education side of the house, so really trainings for anyone interested in exploring, starting, or growing a business. One of the core parts to that is business planning, so we have 9-week series that take people through every aspect of that business plan, whether they're preparing for a loan or not. We really recommend starting with that plan. We also do business plan boot camps and business plan review labs, so that's really at the core of our education. But you'll find everything from cash flow, projections, QuickBooks, exploring. So again, even if someone is just interested in exploring entrepreneurship as an option, we can start there. So training is one piece, technical assistance is another. So really that one-on-one support, whether someone is pre-loan or non-loan, and then every one of our loan clients receives a small business consultant, and that consultant stays with them through the life of the loan. So technical assistance is an important piece, and then of course lending, which I think is the focus of this panel. So as I mentioned before, WWBIC is a CDFI. We have loans up to $350,000, can be used for anything as long as it has to do with the business. So working capital, build outs, equipment, marketing, all of those good things. We don't compete with banks. So, we were just talking, Associated refers a lot of people to us. So how that works and why are we here? Often it's very challenging for startup businesses especially to access capital. And that's where WWBIC's bread and butter really is, although we do also lend to existing business owners who might also have some challenges in accessing that capital. So we're really here to fill that gap, not to compete. So our goal is to get those businesses started, growing and strengthened, and then hopefully, right, they can return and access capital through a traditional lender like a bank. Like I said, our loans go up to $350,000. Our largest funder is the SBA, and we do have SBA lending products under our umbrella. So that's the Community Advantage products as well as micro loan products. All of our lending is done in-house, so our application is online, and then all of our loan officers are full-time WWBIC employees. So that kind of paints that picture of who we are and what we do.
I'm Shane Griffin with Associated Bank. Been with Associated Bank a total of 11 years. There was a split in between there. I did work for Town Bank for several years as a business banker for them as well. Associated Bank is a full service bank. We do everything from small business all the way up to some of the largest businesses in the state. We are the biggest bank in Wisconsin with the most branches and have been with our footprint in Wisconsin. I believe it was the mid-1800s, 1848, I believe is when the bank started. So we've been here a long time. And our focus on our team is the small business relationship. So we work with businesses that are sometimes up to 10 million, but typically 5 million or a little smaller than that, which really encompasses most of the area. Most of Walworth County, most of, even Rock County, most of the businesses would fit into that space. But then we do have the resources to grow with the business. So we have other partners within the bank that we can hand off relationships to, so that as the business grows and it becomes a multi-million-dollar international company, we can, accommodate that. And of course, then we have the services that go along with that. We have everything available for TM and fraud protection, as well as deposit relationships with great rates and those types of things. So we can really start with a business. We can partner with WWBIC as a startup. We can, grow with the business as they grow. And we offer a lot of expertise with the small business side that a lot of other banks have kind of walked away from and kind of just do an online application and that's it. They don't have the experts or the people that would actually come to your business and talk to you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Zac Schneider. I'm with WBD. We are a certified development company. We partner with banks, credit unions to provide the SBA 504 loans, mainly. The SBA 504 loan typically is called the 50-40-10 loan, or that's just kind of how people know it. The 10 being the 10% down that the borrowers bring in. Wes will talk about that a little bit too when he goes. So I'm gonna kind of focus on what our borrower looks like, just to kind of give you an idea. So at the end of last fiscal year, we went through our portfolio of 1,700 loans, totaling just over $1 billion, and kind of came up with an average of what our average borrower looks like. So for collateral coverage, the average was 0.65. So these are highly leveraged loans. There's a shortfall on all these loans. The debt to worth was 8 to 1. So that's where I meant when they're highly leveraged. But when I say 8 to 1, approximately 18% of our borrowers were backed out of that calculation because they had negative net worth. The historical debt service coverage average for these borrowers was 1.1 at the time of application. That's also skewed though because it's an average. Actually, 49% of the borrowers had a debt service coverage below 1 to 1. So these were a lot of projection-based deals. The borrower, their average management experience was 3.5 years, and their average credit score was 782. So they handled their personal credit very well. And then current ratio was 2.4. So they had some liquidity into all these deals. But just in summary, these deals are usually highly leveraged. There's with collateral shortfall, and then there's tight or inadequate working capital at the time or debt service coverage. But with the 504 structure, we're putting them into a long-term fixed rate. Our loans go up to 25 years, the rate's fixed for that whole time. So that helps with their interest rate risks and keeps their monthly payment lower. And these borrowers typically, if they didn't have the 504 loan, they'd be struggling with that kind of profile. So putting them into the right structure really helps them be successful and stay in business and keep their employees. So if you have questions about the 504 loan, talk to Wes, you can talk to me, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
So I'm Wes Walsh. We really kind of have two names you might know us as, and actually this is perfect being situated between Zach and Derek here, because first I'll talk about our business lending partners or BLP division. That's what my name tag checks says here today. So that's our SBA 504 arm. So we also do same thing that WBD does throughout the state of Wisconsin, but really we're kind of focused on the eastern half of the state. We're based out of Racine County, and then we have a satellite office in Green Bay as well. Smaller organization, just kind of, we're the two CDCs headquartered in the state though. We've got a very good relationship. So we play nice within the state. Just to reiterate from Zach, I think key benefits to 504, the main reasons folks are sending deals our way, it's a lower down payment for the borrower. That's the number one reason that borrowers come to us. And then from the bank's perspective, or credit union, sorry, I don't know if we have credit union folks in the room, but I don't want to alienate you. We like you as well. From the lending side, then it's that 50% LTV for the bank, so it lowers the bank's risk exposure on collateral. So that's SBA 504. That's pretty set in stone. You can learn a lot about that online. The other aspect to our business, and really our parent organization, is Racine County Economic Development Corp. So very similar to WCEDA in operation, or I guess in the objective, but a little bit different in the types of products. We've got a different set of revolving loan funds, grant options, so it's just slight nuances, differences between counties and what we've got to offer. We also do business recruitment, so like incentive financing and sort of grants for larger businesses coming to the area, along with ongoing support for the businesses in the community. So just a little bit different flavor than WCEDA. So I think maybe my takeaway on that aspect of the business is, I don't know, I know a lot of folks here are probably Walworth County focused, but if you're doing anything in other counties around the state as well, pretty much every county has an organization like ours, so seek them out. You never know what they have to offer. Our programs change all the time, it's probably the same for you. So I think that's the takeaway, especially if you're having, difficulty in any way, or really just anything. If you're expanding or starting a business, find the economic development organization in the county, see what they have to offer.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I do get a lot of people coming to me, they're either started a business or they're kind of stuck in something and, hey, where do I go? And so I think that's great advice, no matter where you are. I know some businesses have locations or they need to open a location in another surrounding county. We work really well together with all the county economic development officers, so that's great advice. And I would just say too that when I get people, so we also work with the job center, and they're located in the same building where we are in Elkhorn there on the Gateway Technical College campus, as well as Gateway. Since they're there, we'll get a lot of referrals from people who are potentially starting or would like to start a new business. They'll come in, I'll sit down with them, kind of work through what they're trying to do. A lot of times they're trying to do 10 different things, so I'll help them try to sort through it a little bit and break it down. And then typically I may refer them out to other partners as well if we can't help them. We do have one loan program that I would mention that's similar in some ways to what the other partners here can offer, in that it's geared for people that may not have credit or enough collateral to qualify for a traditional bank loan, and so we'll consider that. We'll try to make that work. Ours is through the USDA, and one of the requirements is that it's for businesses under $1 million in revenue, so really the smaller businesses. But it still requires some collateral and a good business plan, and so you'll hear from some of our partners in the next panel there that can help with that. But we typically will do, 1 to, I think we've done as many as 4 loans, so it's not a huge program, but it is helpful, and I'd like people to be aware of that. Right now we still have, I think, close to about almost 400,000 available for loans. Most of our loans have been in probably the average loan size is 25,000. We've done as much as 100. Can be used mostly, I should say mostly been used for working capital, but could be applied toward real estate. And I was gonna just ask the rest of this group too, how you deal with real estate, and then just your rates. So let me just finish. Our rate typically is gonna be market to about 1.5 points, but I know some of them that are riskier are a little higher, so maybe you could just talk real quick about rough rates and your, the rates, I guess. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So again, with WWBIC, we are usually taking substantially more risk because we're working with those startup businesses or existing businesses that might have some specific challenges. So our rates are typically prime, like the regular bank rate plus 5%. And then I did want to share, because I didn't state this before, that we don't have any penalties for early repayment. We celebrate, so if we can get that business strengthened and that business can refinance with the bank, we celebrate that. We actually have a bell in our Milwaukee office, and no matter where that happens in the state, we ring that bell and celebrate. So I did want to make sure I shared that as well.
We do that as well, so that's a good point.
Yeah, the whole point is really to get that business viable and strengthened to be able to access that traditional financing.
From a rate standpoint, of course, it's going to depend a little bit upon what the loan is, what the security is on the loan, if it's a well-secured loan, if it's well capitalized. Rates right now have just dipped below 6 on some of our quotes. A line of credit is going to be a little bit more expensive. It's going to be tied to prime, and we're usually about 1 point over prime, for those types of things. And the reason for that is it's a little more unknown as far as how the funds are going to be used and what the purpose is and those types of things. So it is a little bit more risky. Plus, it's not a fixed amount for, you know, I mean, honestly, banks are there to make money off the margin, right? So they take the deposits, they loan them out to the community, and if you have a line of credit, you don't know if they're gonna draw 10,000 on it, or nothing, or 100,000. So it's a little bit more expensive for the bank to have that, as well as other organizations as well to do that. And then, there are, of course, credit cards available with higher rates than that, and we have partners that we directly partner with on our applications that offer what we call a second look, you know, so if we can't do the loan and we haven't referred it to WWBIC or one of our other partners, then we do have them, and those are a little bit higher rates too.
Sure. For the SBA 504 loan, the rate is set when the loan funds. So the source of the money for the 504 loan is a bond sale. All the loans across the country are pooled together and sold at once. So the borrower actually won't know their rate until the day that it funds. But right now, the 25-year rate is right around 6%. To kind of gauge it, we look at the 10-year treasury and then add about 2% to it.
And that's fixed for 25 years.
Yeah,
So
fixed for 25 years. Yeah.
25-year fixed rate, that's the only place to get that in commercial financing, except for occasionally banks will do crazy stuff, but that's your
big ones.
yeah, that's your reliable way to get a long-term fixed rate. SBA 504 is the way to go. So that's one aspect of our rates. Then on our revolving loan funds, we do these pretty uniquely, I think, compared to a lot of other county economic development organizations and other revolving loan funds you find out there. So we structure our RLFs very similar to the SBA 504. That makes it easy for us internally. We've got basically the same credit profile like Zach kind of outlined for our borrowers. So the attraction then on the RLFs, generally we're more limited on dollars. We'll do up to say 300,000 per project with those revolving loan funds, where the SBA 504 can do much larger projects up to 5 to 5.5 million per project. So it's those smaller projects in Racine County, and then the terms are maybe too generous. We've gotten criticism for being too generous, like we're giving away our money. But these were mostly funds that were originally granted to us. So we'll do, again, this is partnership with the bank and RCEDC. So on our piece, we'll do 5-year term, 25-year amortization, kind of standard bank terms there. But we'll do, our rate is typically below where a bank would be. We're like right about 5% today. So the incentive there is we want to fill that gap, but we want to have a substantial benefit to the borrower. Those rates have been highly attractive lately, and we're starting to run out of loan funds. So that's where I'm saying maybe we were giving this money away a little bit too good of a deal. But yeah, it's been great for the community.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks, sir.
I should share, and our director of Kiva Lending would strangle me if I didn't mention this. I'm like, sorry, Lisa. We also have a program under our umbrella. It's not a WWBIC program. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Kiva, but Kiva is a crowdfunding platform for small businesses. Really started internationally and didn't come to the United States. I think it was in the early 2000s. But it offers small businesses the opportunity to crowdfund for a small business loan up to $15,000 at 0% interest rate. So it really fills that very niche gap. Sometimes for people that really aren't ready for even like a WWBIC loan or traditional financing, or for somebody who really just needs that very small micro loan, it's a great opportunity.
And is there interest on that or no?
0% interest.
Okay, so, yeah, good, no, thanks for mentioning that. And part of the reason why I wanted to feature some of these financing options is, you know, for instance, I'm thinking right now in Lake Geneva, I know there's a big meeting, unfortunately coordinated, it was on the same date here, but where they're talking about road closures in 2027, and I had spoken with a group about 3 months ago there just to talk about our loan fund and some other resources. But if a community is expecting something like that could impact their business, or just in general, a little concerned in the future about something that could impact their cash flow or something like that, really good to get something like these loans or different things in place now while you're still looking good, just to potentially get you through that storm. So that was another reason I wanted to feature some of our business partners. And as you can see, we work really well together. Just really the idea is to try to help the business and eventually get them, as Heather said, to more traditional financing, so that we can then use our resources again for some of those that are struggling. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for being on the panel. You'll participate a little bit later when we do the roundtables, but thanks for being here. One of the things that we work on a lot, and it's just a huge struggle that probably will continue for a long time when we talk with businesses, is the workforce challenge. And so just wanted to take a few minutes during this event to highlight a couple of people who are doing some work in the space with education. And so our first panelist here, our speaker in the spotlight section here, is Chris Trottier. So Chris, if you could come up. He technically works for the Elkhorn Area District High School, but also part of a career college academy. And so Chris has been doing a lot of work with our youth and connecting with businesses and work experiences, and works well with us, with our chambers. We want to continue to grow those relationships, and so I thought it'd be just really nice to hear from Chris, and he'll give you a quick overview, and then we'll invite our other guests.
Okay.
So yeah, Chris, thanks.
Okay, you got it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Got my education voice ready. So my name's Chris Trottier. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships for the Elkhorn Area School District. As I kind of talk through the Youth Apprenticeship Program, which is primarily what I'm going to speak to, understand that this is not an Elkhorn Area School District program. There are other partners, and our school districts in Walworth County are very active in trying to partner up with employers, economic development, community organizations to really transform the experience for kids and make sure that every kid walks out of their institution career ready. So before somebody raises their hand and asks me, do the schools still teach the trades anymore? I'm just gonna say yes, they do. So in fact, they're building houses as we speak. So I served as a high school principal for 16, 17 years at two districts, Elkhorn being one of them, and then moved into this position when our school district really said, we need to scale up our relationships with our stakeholders within our community and outside of our district. And primarily I work with our 3 high schools. We have 2 charter schools and we have 1 comprehensive high school to really partner up with employers to scale up our youth apprenticeship program. And the youth apprenticeship program started in the state of Wisconsin. It's really a national model. Started in 1991, believe it or not. And if you go to any of the child labor laws, what it did was it carved out what is called the student learner exemption in the child labor laws, giving students who are starting their junior year the ability to go work in areas in right now 83 different career pathways and perform many of the duties that any regular employer would expect from their employees under the mentorship of an expert in the field. That program has been very successful and significantly in the last 4 years has scaled up. This year it's been a record number of just it was about 11,344 kids participated and 7,000, I think 440, I'm trying to remember the number, I'm not ChatGPT, 444 I think it was, employers participated. The 5 major industries around the state of Wisconsin that kids are getting employed are building construction, architecture and construction, manufacturing, health science, marketing, and hospitality. So those really align with the economic drivers here in Walworth County, and we're continuing to look to expand that. So how do, what are the expectations for the students? The students must take a related course equivalent to 1 high school or 3 college credits during the experience, work 450 hours, be mentored by someone, and then we complete evaluations and ongoing communications to ensure that the kids are being upskilled and ready for work. The employers that we work for see great benefit not only with their current employees who become coaches and mentors and really create this learning culture within their organization, but also then see higher retention rates of employees. They see a continuous pipeline, and they're partnering up with, from a community engagement standpoint, with their local school districts to ultimately identify talent. So as population decreases, Mike and I and other leaders in Walworth County are saying, well, I have 500 to 700 juniors and seniors who are doing everything they can to get out of Algebra 2 and go to work. That's a joke, they're really not. Because all of you loved Algebra 2. So, but they're really trying to get employed, and that's what they want to do because they want to get to their passion quicker. These kids are a product of the Great Recession. They know exactly what happens to a family when budgets get tight. They're very smart financially, maybe not with investments and need additional financial literacy, but they know what they're worth, or think they know what they're worth, I should say. So the average, I would say our average hourly rate for most youth apprenticeships in Walworth County is about $15 an hour. I would say I have many that are now pushing 17 and 18. And so how do you get started in this? You reach out to a school. That's your starting point. And I would be more than willing to get you connected. I think we have schools here. Raise your hand if you're from a school district. There you go. Like Geneva's here. Whitewater's here. I know Delavan is very active. We work with them on many programs. Reach out. We can be your talent acquisition and recruiter to identify kids that not only could start but also finish. There are literally employers in our county who are reliant on the youth apprenticeship program to build their next generation of talent, and we've seen it. And it's a great opportunity. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Kids need coaching and upskilling, but so do adults. All right, as a former high school principal, if I had a meeting with adults, yes, they're all on their phone. So are kids. You just got to tell them to put it away, right? So it's really just about coaching learners and creating those conditions. So if you are interested in being part of, I can almost promise, hopefully, that we have another record year in the state of Wisconsin for youth apprentices and employers getting engaged. Please reach out. Please reach out. I cannot speak for most school districts. When I go to a manufacturing meeting and I hear that a manufacturing organization spent $100,000 on a survey to try and figure out what are the greatest needs in manufacturing, and they say we need employees. And I'm sitting here with a former general manager of a local manufacturer who's teaching our kids elite manufacturing skills with 3 Haas machines and 6 Bridgeports and six Kent lathes going, we got kids, and we all do. So please reach out. We're open for business. We're trying to build the next workforce one kid at a time. And if you have any questions, please ask. All right.
Not totally.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Chris. And, I should say too, so when we do the follow-up, we'll have the video, we'll have contacts for everybody, and certainly can always get to us too, and we'll connect you with the high school. So thanks, Chris, for doing that. We really want to continue to promote more of those connections with the students and local businesses. So that'll be good to hear. So next, I'd like to ask Bill Stengrevics to come up and just talk about UW-Whitewater's continuing ed program, because I think that's something too that'll be good for the workforce and for people to know more about. So
Thank you.
Good morning. So as you can see, as I'm the walking billboard, my name is Bill. I'm the graduate recruiter for the College of Business at UW-Whitewater. My colleague Stacy, who's at the table right out here, she works with any other program outside of the College of Business, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely reach out to her as well. So I wanted to come in today just to kind of explain a little bit about first of all, the student profile that I'm working with, a little bit about the program and how we feel we are catering to that student profile, and then ultimately how you can get involved with your business as well, and how we can help you. So currently, I'll focus predominantly on the MBA program since that is our largest College of Business program right now. We do have specialty masters in finance, cybersecurity, data analytics, but focusing with the MBA, our average student age still hovers around low 30s, so we are typically working with the adult learner. Doesn't mean that we don't also have students that attend right out of undergraduate, but predominantly we are working with the working professional, the adult learner that's balancing personal life, professional life, other obligations, military. So we really pride ourselves with our program on the flexibility. So our MBA program continues to be 100% online. It is asynchronous, so we don't require students to attend live lectures. They're able to work through modules where they are able to complete the program on their own time, but at the same time, still able to engage with their classmates, engage with their instructors. We still stand as Wisconsin's largest business school. So as a student for UW-Whitewater, you're getting kind of the best of both worlds. You have the resources that UW-Whitewater can offer, but you also have the kind of small school feel where you're able to access your instructor, you're able to come to campus, you're able to attend events still when you have the time. So with our MBA program, one of the other things I want to focus on is the idea that the credential of an MBA is just enough is starting to die down in higher education. Employers, from what I've heard from students, they're looking for specific skills. They're looking for students to have specific skills when they're looking at leadership roles, when they're looking into it. And for some students, it is a challenge that they just have that credential, they're not able to find work. So at UW-Whitewater, we want to continue to have our curriculum be cutting edge. We want to make sure that students are getting the correct content, they're getting it from the correct people that understand what business leaders are looking for. So we do continue to hold an AACSB accreditation, so that's kind of a validation that students can feel comfortable that they're learning the correct content. And with our online program, we've been doing it since 1998. Our instructors know how to keep students engaged and keep them knowledgeable with it. So the other aspect that I mentioned briefly, we are looking to kind of understand further in our community, outside of our community, what employers are looking for additional education from their staff, whether it's certain subject areas or just kind of overall program. We want to work and partner with organizations. So if that's something that you're interested in, where you feel your employees could benefit from additional education, whether it is a full degree program or the graduate certificates that we possess, that's definitely something I'd be open to a conversation as well. So that's basically it. If there are any additional questions, like I said, reach out to Stacy if it's outside of the College of Business, or if it's something that falls into my realm, happy to help you.
You heard a lot about the financial resources and some workforce resources. Like some of the people here now representing different organizations like to talk about what they can do to help businesses, particularly number of ones that are actually located through the university, because I always say I feel like there's so many great resources at the university here, and I feel like sometimes I feel like they're underutilized, and so I really want to give them some time to talk about this. So what they're going to do is briefly talk a little bit about their organization background, but then I'm going to ask them to also kind of highlight maybe one thing in particular that they see as a challenge, a reoccurring challenge, or it could be an opportunity or whatever. And then I'll be over here and I'm gonna write down kind of something from each of what they say. And that's how we'll assign to the tables here after the fact. We'll do a roundtable discussion around that. And so don't mind me over here doing that, but I'll get going here. And so maybe we'll start with you, Patrick. So Patrick DeMoon from Sweet Mare, I'm sorry, geez, so Patrick, yeah, why don't you lead us off?
Yep, so I'm Pat DeMoon with Sweet Maier. We're out of Elkhorn and we're predominantly a land use and zoning law firm. We also do some business, corporate work, some M&A, things like that. And the one thing that I want to talk about today that I see clients making a mistake of is protecting the liability protection that you have for your company or should have. So the whole reason you start a corporation or an LLC, for the most part, is to get the liability protection that affords. So to keep the debts and liabilities of the business separate from your own. But if you're a plaintiff's attorney, for example, and you want to sue that business, you want to sue everybody you possibly can. The business, the owners, employees, whoever you can find. And there's a few ways that you can make that easier for them to do that. One of them would be by not keeping up with what they call the corporate formalities. So if you don't keep up with these corporate formalities, a plaintiff's attorney can say, hey, this person is really, it's not the business, it's really just them, we can sue them directly. Corporate formalities for a corporation would be things like having a set of bylaws, holding an annual meeting, electing officers and directors every year, filing your annual report with the state every year. With an LLC, you have a little bit more flexibility, which is one of the reasons I recommend LLCs over corporations for the most part. You don't have to have an annual meeting, you don't have to elect officers and directors, but you do need to file an annual report with the state every year. And one of the things I see, it's the simplest thing to do. It takes you maybe 15 minutes to file these reports, but if you don't do it, the state eventually will dissolve your business. So you'll be left effectively without a business, without an LLC or a corporation in good standing. I would say probably out of every 10 new clients that comes to me, I always check to see, is your business in good standing with the state? And I would say honestly, 3 or 4 out of those 10 times, it's not. These folks have been operating under a dissolved company, sometimes for many years. And if you're a plaintiff's attorney and want to sue, that's like Exhibit A, right? This company's dissolved, it's gone. Therefore, I can just sue you directly. So again, that's a really simple thing. It sounds like common sense, but many, many people don't do it. I would guess there's at least one person in this room, if I checked, your company might not be in good standing. So simple thing to do that makes a big difference. Another thing though to do is you have to treat your company separate from yourself. You have to treat it like it's a separate person because in the eyes of the law, effectively it is. So your company needs its own bank account, which again sounds obvious, but many people commingle their money. They pay a supplier directly out of their own checking account. They pay some kind of creditor. Always have the business pay, let's say, a supplier. You don't write a check to them. The company doesn't have the money, you write the check to the company writes the check to the supplier. You keep that separation. So again, you're showing everyone, this isn't me, it's a separate person, this business, that's got that liability. The company, I think, should also have its own EIN, employer identification number. It's not necessarily required, but it's a simple way to show, again, this is a person separate from me, it's not myself. The company also should have, when you make a contract, like a lease or your contract to buy something, make sure it's in the company's name, not your own. And when you sign that contract, you sign in your official capacity with the company. So I would sign Pat DeMoon, president of Acme Corporation, not just Pat DeMoon. And then finally, I think it's important that you get good insurance for the business, again, separate from your own. I can't tell you the number of times clients come in and they'll say, let's say they've been sued, and they're like, we're fine, we have an LLC, so they can't touch us. Okay, and sometimes that's true, sometimes not. But just the cost of defense, if your company gets sued, could easily bankrupt you. So even if you're right, even if the police have no case against you, it's easy to get it dismissed. That's a $5,000 to $10,000 bill just out of the gate. And if there's anything more involved, you're talking $50,000, sometimes $100,000 right there to defend yourself and win. So you get, again, even if you're right and you win, you're gonna have to eat those attorney's fees, and if you don't have insurance, that's gonna be on you. So those are some basic things that I think people really need to think of. Again, it's common sense, but I can't tell you how often we see people come in where they haven't done any of this stuff, and they've just made a mess of their company. And then finally, I would just say as a general suggestion, I think it's important to develop a good stable of helpers for your business. So a good accountant, a good insurance person, a good attorney, a banker, and to use those people in a timely fashion. If you have any reservations about signing a contract, from my perspective, call the attorney first. If you're gonna buy a piece of land to build your factory on, call the attorneys first, have them check the zoning and the land use restrictions. Don't sign the contract and then call somebody, because it's harder to unring the bell. And then if you run into any trouble, if you need to sue somebody or you're about to get sued, again, call immediately. Literally this Friday, that's September 12th, I had a client call. They paid a contractor, it's really, I think, just some guy, a good chunk of money, a 5-figure sum of money to do some work, and the guy didn't do it. He was supposed to do it September 9th. So as I'm talking to the client, I'm like, well, I don't know that this is that big of a problem. It's September 12th, he's supposed to start on the 9th. You know, I can call and maybe write him a letter. We could probably work this out. And as I'm saying this, the client just kept getting more and more agitated and upset. And finally I said, well, okay, just email me this contract so I can tell you, I can look at it and figure this out. And they email it to me and I look. It was September 9th, 2024, the guy was supposed to start the job. A year later, they waited to call me. Now I can tell you the odds of me or any other attorney helping them at this point, it's effectively zero. And again, that sounds so silly. It sounds like, of course we wouldn't do that. But time and time again, clients come in, they don't want to pay an attorney, or they're embarrassed or whatever. They wait too long, and then it's too late. Our fees are expensive, but I can tell you they are exponentially more. It costs exponentially more to help you get out of a problem than if you had just called first, that we could have prevented it. So those are my general tips for you.
I would like to say welcome to the Community Engagement Center. So I help manage this building. It is part of the UW-Whitewater. We actually lease it, so people always ask questions about that. I would add to the stable of professionals, people like myself at UW-Whitewater, who are, really I come from a consulting background, so I'm gonna help you find a resource. And, you'll hear more about that from the SBDC as well. The other thing I might even add, since I've owned a business, I have a consulting business, is insurance, the liability insurance, so no matter what, that you are covered. And I just keep paying that, but never had to deal with it, but it's important. So my role at the university, besides the Community Engagement Center, is the Innovation Center. That's actually owned by the city. You can ask me all these things after if you need to. But the heart of my role is to be a consultant, both to the outside and the inside. So you ever try to navigate the university and try to find somebody, even UW-Whitewater? It can be challenging. So who should I call? You can call me. And then sometimes internally at the university, a faculty member might say, can you find me a business that wants to do X, Y, Z? It's not that it's me that does all of it, but I will know the person. So I like change my title on my signature, just like network navigator, trying to figure it out and where to connect to who. The other thing that we do a lot of is like, the connection to students, the connection to faculty, the connection to companies. Sometimes we'll want to do contracts or grants together. So there's a grant right now from Wisconsin Economic Development all about startups. So I work in the innovation startup world as well. So we might be a subcontractor on a contract, and then I will connect them to Russ, because Russ has multiple centers under his belt, and so it's like, so that's the connection or grant. We could be a fiscal agent. Sometimes you need a university or a school, for that matter, K-12, to be the fiscal agent. What that means is you're managing all the money and checking those boxes, and it's not fun to do unless you love that stuff. And so that's what people look for. What else did I have? I think that ultimately my role with the students, at the heart of the university is students. And looking at the state of Wisconsin is connecting the driver industries to the students and faculty, so that when they are done, they are ready to go work, right? And know where these places are. So I'll stop there just because there's a lot of us.
Sure, no, thank you.
Hey, I'm Jason. I'm with the Small Business Development Center. We are a resource at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, but also we're sponsored by the SBA in Washington, D.C. And what our goal is to provide no-cost, comprehensive support for small business owners. Basically from start to finish, right? People, why would somebody come to us? They come to us if they have an idea and they want to get it down on paper and get a plan and recognize if it's feasible or not. Maybe they have that idea, they've already done that. Now they want to throw together a business plan and some financial projections and get some capital, you know, get a loan or investors or whatever. We can help them with that. Say it's a business that's already going great and they're looking to expand. We can help them with that. And finally, we also help people in transition. Say they've already had a business and they're looking to sell it and they want to get their books in order and find out how to do that. We can help them with that. So I'm going to try to keep this really short because we do a lot of things. But if you can think of it as just from top to bottom, any small business issues, problems, ideas, we can help with.
And our offices are next to each other.
Yeah.
Jason, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but is there something, and maybe, I know Ron's here too, but is there something that keeps recurring, you know, that you see most often with businesses or something?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things.
Something that rises to the
It
top.
changes with the times, you know, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was like labor shortages and super inflation and things like that. But the number one thing we see is just people, when they're trying to get capital to start, like either not having enough to start or not knowing where to get that. And then we can help them by putting together, a lot of times, different sources like WWBIC or a bank or a credit union or some RLFs, the revolving loan funds, and help them that way. But I really think that overall, you know, we do get a lot of people who just, they have this great idea, but they just don't have the, you know, the financial backing to start it. And sometimes we, you know, we can't help them, right? But if there was one theme, it's that.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Another question here. So you say it's no cost. Are there qualifications of who you will help and not help?
No, I mean, we'll help anyone pretty much. I mean, you know, our goal is to eventually turn you into a long-term client and see you get a successful business. But I mean, anybody can come to us with any idea and we'll meet with you and help you out. And it is no cost, 100% no cost. Now, like we partner, there's 13 of us in Wisconsin, 13 different centers at different universities, and some of the university centers offer classes that they charge for. The programs basically, you know, like QuickBooks program or digital marketing program. But as far as just meeting with me or Ron and just offering advice or working through things, it's never any cost.
Can I just add?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about federally, SBA wants more businesses, and that's why they fund this across the United States. It's an amazing resource.
So I'm Russ Case. I'm a professor of economics. I will say this, I got my undergraduate degree in English, I got my PhD in mathematical economics. But I went to a high school where I had to learn to weld. I had to take 3 years of welding, I had to take machine shop. I went to South Milwaukee High School in 1970. We were trained to work at the Zeg receiver. My advisor, Mr. Pung, said, go to college. So I went to college. And so Bud Gayhart basically created a product at UW-Whitewater at the WISC, the Wisconsin Innovation Service Center. And I basically inherited it. I ran other centers there. And one of the things that we do that probably is most relevant to people in this room is on Friday, I'll be on the road visiting a manufacturer in Stengrevics, who basically I have to look at the equipment they have because they want to expand their product base. It's interesting because for the last 3 years, no one's inquired about this. They inquired about other things. But you can see a slowdown in the economy. They're saying business is good, but we need to diversify. And so I go down, I look at the equipment they have, and I have 20 students who work for me, by the way, we charge. I have to say that. And what we do is we basically say, given your capacity, what else can you make? And if you need some more equipment, what will it cost? And then I'm heading to a company that's building Faraday cages, if you know what those are. And they want to expand their manufacturing of that, and what do they need? So I'm heading to, where am I heading? To Mount Pleasant, then I'm going down to Chicago. And this is my Friday. I'm gonna basically visit these factories, meet with them, and try to estimate what other products would be low-hanging fruit for the manufacturing capacity that they have. And then on Monday I have to go, I own a factory in Milwaukee, and I have to take off to go collect my receivables. That's not the fun thing. No, actually I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But that's what the WISC does. We do a very good job. Bud Gayhart started this back in 2008. It's been around for 40 years. 2008, with the downturn in Janesville at the GM plant went out of business, all of these companies came and said, okay, what else can we make? We are making seats for Chevy Tahoes. What can we do with that machinery? And he did a great job. And that was about a 7-year project that companies were trying to retool Detroit, Janesville, throughout the Midwest, all the way down to New Orleans. And so that's what we do.
I think that's the shortest time I've ever heard you speak, Russ. Very concise, thank you. It is a great center, though, and I think a lot of people don't understand it or assume maybe that it's too expensive or that kind of thing, and it really is we've utilized it in all other businesses, and they have access to great data. It's a good experience for the students that are working with Russ and others to gather the information, and just a great resource that I know is not even limited to, like you said, it's not limited to Wisconsin. I know you work in other states as well, so I think it's interesting to think about how local businesses could use that to help them either go in a new direction or fine tune what they're doing, trying to target some of their markets and things like that too. So appreciate that. You'll be in a roundtable after, maybe we can talk more about some of those details. So thanks, Russ. And then Shane, you already heard from in terms of his background, but I'd ask Shane to be on there too, just as from a banker perspective, and asking him, what he sees, maybe some challenges when people are coming to him to get funded as a small business, and maybe you could just comment on some of that.
Yeah.
If you had any.
I've actually got a couple quick stories.
Really quick.
So I had a customer, actually it's a prospect that I've been talking to, and she's been looking at properties, and she started talking about a 1031 exchange. And I had just completed a 1031 exchange. If you don't know what it is, ask your accountant. Basically, you're selling a property and you're deferring taxes. And I went through the whole thing of everything that I knew about it, which I think was pretty inclusive. The last sentence I said was, talk to your accountant. Because I'm not the expert in that. Taxes change, it can definitely be different than what it is right now, right? The other quick story I had is actually, we talked about this a little bit. I didn't tell you what the occupation of the person was. So It was an attorney that I was talking to a couple of months ago. And we were doing a loan for them, and they changed the structure of how they wanted to do the loan, and actually was gonna have a different borrower than what it started with. And so we had to pull credit again and start the application over again. And between the first time we took the application and the second time we took the application, his score dropped 70 points. And what happened is he didn't miss any payments, he doesn't have a bankruptcy, he doesn't have any liens or judgments or anything else. He simply took out 2 additional credit cards and ran up one of the credit cards above the limit. That was 70 points between the inquiries, between the, adding credit on there that's new because the aging of credit matters, and then also he went above limit. And all those were red flags to the credit card company, and so his score went down 70 points in 2 months. And that's an attorney, so that, there's a good point there that we all have expertise, and a lot of businesses are great at welding, they're great at plumbing, whatever they're great at, but they're not great at finance, they're not great at law, and they're not great at taxes. And so you need all those partners out there, and Associated, we definitely want to be that partner as far as that part goes. Then talking a little bit to the challenges that are out there right now, I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. A lot of businesses don't know how certain things that are happening are going to impact their business, whether it be tariffs or it be the market conditions. If you're in the tourism industry, there has been some changes there. There's been a downturn in some tourism in some areas. And so as a banker, we always have to look at what the trends are to help the business determine whether or not adding additional debt is even possible, right? If you can't make the payments, it doesn't really help a business to have additional debt. And so, I do see that as one of the challenges out there right now, but I think a lot of people are just hesitant to make a move and take a risk, right now. But that's not all of them. We're certainly busy. We're doing a lot of loans right now as well, but I do think there is some hesitation out there.
I really appreciate the Community Engagement Center here hosting us, so thank you, Elizabeth, for getting that done. And as always, just reach out to us. We can always point you in the right direction, but thanks again. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Derek.